Hi there, Prairie Plant Girl here. Today is the day I'm going to get my hanging baskets done. So I'm really excited to do that. You can see I already have one done behind me here. I did this about a week ago, and all of my hanging baskets are going to be very similar with very similar plants, but they're not going to be exactly the same. Now, I have a pretty unique hanging planter here. I've had these for years. I don't remember where I bought them, but I did see them somewhere early this spring, and I can't remember, but I think it was TNT Seeds or Vessies.com that had them, but it was more money than I wanted to pay for them. I'm sure more than I paid for these, and they were smaller, I believe, as well. But if you're looking for some, I looked, I couldn't find them on there, but they are out there, so just keep your eyes peeled. And I've heard people find them sometimes at their local garden center after they've seen my video. I really like these hanging planters, but they require a lot of plants. They have 12 holes just along the sides, and then plus the top space. So if you're going to be planting this intensely, you definitely need to be really having adequate feed and watering happening with these planters. So you maybe want to just stick with your standard planter. Now this one is probably about 14 inches across and almost a foot high, which to me is a good size. The smaller you get with a hanging basket, the more they tend to dry out and the root mass fills, especially if you're using a lot of plants. So it's always good to go with the biggest hanging basket that you can afford and that you can support to hang in your space. Other than that, you just want to have a good soil. I find with a hanging basket, a soil with less things like perlite can really help because it's going to retain more moisture that way. And having things like a drip system set up so you know they're getting watered a little more regularly than we sometimes are able to do with remembering on our own and our own schedules. Sometimes it's just easier to be more consistent with your watering that way. And with a hanging basket, I think it's really a good idea to put in a slow release fertilizer, but then still be going in once a week or even once a month at the very least, and giving them a liquid feed as well. So let me show you the basket I already have done up, and then we'll take a look at the plants I have here for these ones. So this hanging basket, like I said, I did up about a week ago. It's been out here through all that stormy weather and rain that you may have seen recently on my videos. Lots of wind, and it's held up just fine. It's been out here. I haven't done anything special to it to protect it. It has some Calibrachoa in it. This is a nice bright deep red, almost has like a magenta tinge to it, with a nice deep yellow throat. And the Calibrachoa really will fill in and spill out. I have 2 of them in the top here, and they're already filling in and getting quite large. Then I have Bacopa. This is a plant that I grew from seed this year, and it has just these nice dainty white flowers, and as the heat comes on, it will fill in and be just covered with these white flowers. So it's quite nice to have in. It should intermingle with the Calibrachoa quite nicely and give me a nice kind of airy effect around the plant. And both of these plants will go over the side of the planter as well. And then I have a red storm petunia. This one needs to come off. But they're nice, again, a nice bright red. They kind of pick up with some of the brighter tones. Now this one's a little bit faded, it's an older one, but you can see how it picks up the brighter tones of the Calibrachoa. So it's a really nice petunia. I grew this from seed this year, and it will come up, give a bit more height, and then also spill over the sides of the planter. And so I've just alternated with the 3 plants. There's 8 holes around here. So I think I did mostly just a Calibrachoa petunia, Bacopa petunia, Calibrachoa petunia, and then there's another Bacopa. And then I came around the bottom here with this Calibrachoa. and I alternated it. So this one here has this nice pink, which I think just lends a little bit of brightness, and it has that yellow throat, which will coordinate with the yellow throats of the red Calibrachoa. But this Calibrachoa just has a little bit more of a brightness to it, but some of them are, I don't know how well you can see, like when they're new, they're just a little bit deeper in color, and then they fade out to a lighter color. So I thought that would lend a nice bit of interest and color. You know, it's kind of like, not really ombre, but it kind of has that, you know, the darker, deeper colors at the top fading down to the lighter colors. And I alternated those with more petunias at the bottom. I believe these are Fire Frost as well. So there's four. There's two of those Calibrachoa and then two of the Fire Frost petunia around the bottom. So like I said, these have been here for about a week now. And they're just starting to really fill in. The petunias tend to come up the side of the pot more and then kind of spill out, whereas the Calibrachoa will kind of come down and the Bacopa will go down a little bit more as well. So they'll get a nice intermingling of plants that way. Hopefully you can see here, I have drip line, which I need to get a hammer and reattach some of it, but I have drip line run along this fence and then up over the hooks for the hanging baskets, and there's just a single emitter that goes down into each of my hanging baskets. And this emitter I can adjust the flow rate of, so if I find that it's getting too much, I can turn it and slow it down a little bit, and if it's not enough, I can open it up so it's dripping more water in here. I haven't actually connected this yet. We've had a lot of rain, so I haven't worried too much. I've been able to come out and water when I need to water most of the time. Nature's been doing it for me, but we are supposed to be getting hotter and drier now. June is coming, you know, to the middle of June here, and usually June is a rainy month, and then after that it just dries right out. So I expect to be getting this hooked up and turned on soon, and then they'll be on their schedule. When the weather's cooler, like around 20 degrees Celsius, then I tend to have it running once a day early in the morning, get them nice and hydrated for the day. When it gets to be a lot hotter, like the upper 20s and into the 30s, then it'll be running twice a day. And if I remember from last year, it was about 10 to 15 minutes was enough to get them running enough, but it'll really depend on your climate conditions, how much you need to run it, how many plants you have in your pot, what kind of soil you're using, and what size your pot is as well. So, you just have to kind of play around with it until they're staying at the correct moisture level that the plants you're planting need. So let's look at the plants that I've chosen for the other two hanging baskets I'm going to do. So there's a lot of white in here, so hopefully the sun's not going to wash them out too much. It's a pretty bright day out here today. What I've chosen for the first planter is a nice selection of this beautiful bright white Calibrachoa. These are beautiful, healthy plants. Now I purchased the Calibrachoa. I tried to grow Calibrachoa for the first time this year, and I'll try and insert a little photo here of how it turned out. It did not work. I think I have one sad, tiny little seedling sized plant. Yeah, it wasn't my best foray into seed starting, that one. But anyway, so I have this, I've purchased all my Calibrachoa this year, and I have this beautiful, it's just such a bright, clear white with just a really soft, lemony yellow down the throat. I really, really like this. And then I have more Red Storm petunia. So if you've caught any of my recent videos, you may have seen one where trays of petunias just got knocked all over the place in my cold frame. So I'm hoping these are all Red Storm, but I just had trays of Red Storm, trays of Fire Frost, and trays of White Storm. And it was just one variety per tray, and I just had one or two labeled. The rest weren't. So when they all fell in and hit the ground there, I'm just hoping I picked them up and put them in the right trays. Could be a surprise, but they'll all work well together, so I'm not too worried about it. Then I have more of this Bacopa that I grew from seed this year. So it's just a beautiful, and again, this Bacopa really mimics, it's just like little baby miniature flowers of the Calibrachoa, but then this little bit different leaf texture, which I think is a nice combination there. So that'll be the first pot, and I think it'll look really nice like that. Kind of a red and white theme going on there. And then for this tray, I have some of the White Storm petunias. And I have more of this gorgeous Calibrachoa with this kind of bright pink with the deep, deep yellow veining through it. And then I decided to do some of this lobelia. This is a white lobelia. What's it called? Regalia white. And I grew this from seed, and it's absolutely beautiful, and it'll be just a nice floaty, you see that difference in texture there? It's a nice floaty kind of texture of the lobelia with that much heavier texture of the petunias, and kind of an in-between grade with the Calibrachoa. So I think that'll look really nice together. I just have, I believe, 3 of these pots like this of the lobelia, but when you plant lobelia, it's like almost like dust, the seeds, so you just kind of sprinkle it all across. So I'll be able to take these and tear them into pieces and create more plants. There's lots of plants coming out of this. I just need to break them up. So it might look a little bit small and sad to begin with, but they will fill in and get a lot fuller and nicer. I'll probably go in and pinch them off a little bit too to encourage them to branch out a little bit. So that'll be my second pot, and I think it's really nice. And these 2 containers pull in a lot of the plants from that first pot that I did. So I thought that'll be nice. These 2 hanging baskets will be flanking the one that I just showed you. So I think that's a good way to kind of have different containers, but they're all very similar in the plants that are being used, with just variations in color and combination of the plants. So when I'm planting my hanging baskets, like I said, I like a little bit heavier soil. So you can see, hopefully you can tell there, things out of the way. There's not a lot of perlite. This is a potting mix, but it's not a lot of perlite to it. And although it is lofty, because you don't want like garden soil, you don't want it super heavy and compact. You want those roots to be able to get lots of oxygen exchange, but you don't want it to drain out too quickly. So I think this works quite nicely in that manner for it. And then I like to use some water storing crystals in my my hanging baskets, because that just helps. They'll absorb excess moisture when they're getting watered, and then they'll release moisture as the plants are drying out through the day. This is a great way to get hanging baskets, hay racks, anything that's in a place where you have a little bit of trouble keeping it moist enough. This is a great thing to use, and it doesn't need to be this brand. Just find the one that works for you. This one happens to be all natural, pet and child safe. And let me read, it'll tell you how much to put in. It says 2 scoops for 4 to 5 liters, and I measured out 20 of these, which I believe is about a 1 liter bottle, so about 1 liter each scoop. So I need about 8 scoops of this, and this should be more than enough soil to do the hanging baskets. I'm also going to be adding in some slow release fertilizer. Now this happens to be the one I picked up when I was at PV Mart the other day. I've never used this brand before. Seems like it has a lot of good things in it, and I thought I would give it a try. It was at the right price. And it really doesn't matter that much what fertilizer you use. And so I need 3 tablespoons of this for 4 liters of soil. So 5, I need 15 of these, I believe. Okay, so I have my soil all mixed up. I made sure to really mix it right down to the bottom and through all the sides to get everything incorporated really well. And now I just need to get planting. So let's get these baskets done up so we can get them hung up and start to enjoy them. These hanging baskets have little doors along the sides to hold the plants in, so I need to pop those out. So when I do these baskets, I just fill the bottom a little bit with soil, and then I'll add the plants in, and then I'll just keep adding more soil as I go. So what I wound up doing was taking the white Calibrachoa and ringing the 4 openings at the bottom part of the planter with that. And then I took the red storm petunia and I alternated it with the bacopa, and I think that'll look really nice. Those 3 plants should blend together in that way and give a nice interest to the sides of the pot. And then what I did at the top, and this is what you could do for just any normal planter, is I put in 2 of the Calibrachoa, and then I put in 1 of the petunias here. So the petunia tends to get a little bit larger than the Calibrachoa, so I expect it to kind of come up in the center here. And the Calibrachoa, though they'll give you this little bit of height, they'll spill down over the sides. The petunia will come down kind of more in a leggy way down the sides, but they should again intermingle. And then I popped in 2 bacopa, which should I just think that combination of these little mini flowers with the larger Calibrachoa flowers will look really nice together, and again, just gives a little bit of different texture with the foliage. Now, you don't need to use this many plants. You could just use one of each of these plants in the top of a planter this size, and it will fill in and give you a nice look. So don't feel like you have to have a lot of plants to make a planter a hanging basket. I mean, even one of these would be fine, but I like to have the color combinations and the bits of texture and size difference in the flowers. I think that's a nice, just gives a little bit more added enjoyment to the pot. So I'm gonna hang this one up and move on to the next one. If you're enjoying this video, pop on over and hit that like button. And if you haven't subscribed, hit that subscribe button. It really helps to grow my channel so more people can see the content I'm creating. And that's how I divide those lobelia up. You see, I just took that package and just gently pull it apart. And the roots will just separate. And that's okay if some break, they'll grow back. So that's my second hanging basket of the day done. I always think they look a little bit rough after I first plant them up, but I know that it won't take long and they'll start to fill in. The plants will be happier with more root space. They'll be getting more regular watering, and it'll be easier for the soil to hold the moisture in than compared to these little pots that you can see strewn all over around me. So in this one, I just wanted to go over what I did here real quick, is I alternated with the Calibrachoa and the petunia around the bottom 4 spots. So I have 2 Calibrachoa, 2 petunias. And then I split that one lobelia, you saw that, and I put 4 of those across that kind of middle area. And then I put 2 each on opposite sides, petunia and Calibrachoa and Calibrachoa. And then in the top, I put 1 Calibrachoa, 1 petunia, and 2 lobelia. And I actually tried to kind of pop the lobelia out towards the sides so they can dangle over a little bit. One just hanging there by the roots. And you know, I have one lobelia left, and I kind of think I want to just stick it right here in the middle and let it just kind of fill in and be this airy little centerpiece. So let's do that. Again, there's absolutely no need for this many plants in your pots. It's entirely up to you. You could do 1, you could do 5 like I have in the top of this one here. But it will affect how much fertilizer they need and how much water they need with their root space that they have here. So I'm just going to hang this up, and then I'm going to make sure that I hand water both of these planters really, really well with my watering can before, after I get them hung up. And that will just get all the roots in the soil settled in the pots. So I can see if any soil runs out or anything, or if there's any pockets that form, I'll be able to come in and add some more soil to those areas. So I hope you enjoyed seeing the process that I take to put these hanging baskets together. I hope you found something helpful in the little information I gave you about how I prepare the soil and my thought process for which plants I choose and why I put them together the way I did. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye. Bye.